Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Current Issues Show on TrueChat, broadcasting from Cincinnati, Ohio in Studio 2A on this Monday, July 18th, 2016. I'm Justin Weller.
I'm Camden Pierce.
I'm Scott Wood, still going last, even though I'm in the middle.
As always, thank you very much for tuning in. We are 3 days away from Camden's birthday, the national event, ladies and gentlemen, so get excited. And make sure that you give him as much praise as you possibly can on his birthday. Don't give him a gift, though. He'll probably lose it, or not use it, or never see it, or any of the above.
And don't expect him to reciprocate.
Right. So you can get him a gift, but don't expect anything in return.
I've been pretty bad, but today, this is the birthday and Christmas that it gets better.
Okay. We'll see. Already missed Scott's though this year. So
yeah, I did.
Make that one
big time.
Until next year.
Wow. It's all right.
Yeah. I guess you're right.
I notice when he decides to make a change in his life. Yeah.
So he could
after he screwed Scott Wood, then it's like, I'm gonna make a change in my life.
He could get 2 out of 3 this year. We'll see though.
Oh,
he could get 2 out of 3, but he's already can't get a perfect.
It's true.
2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Is he gonna buy one for himself?
No, Christmas.
No, Christmas.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, I suppose it'd be more than 3 because if there's both
3 or 4
for Christmas, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I could get a 70. I could get a C plus.
Yeah. Could get a C plus.
And then I can reassess next year.
Well, you can still reassess this year. You can still give me one.
Ooh, that's true.
You can reassess. All right. So anyway,
I'll just regift.
Today,
since I haven't even opened Blues
today,
Brothers.
ladies and gentlemen, we have a TrueChat special report for you. Something that we haven't done. Hardly ever, but I've spent a good bit of time in the past 2 days assembling this report, and I think it's very important. So as the title points out to you, we are discussing Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's lies. This election is focused greatly around Hillary Clinton and her lies and how she is a just habitual liar that cannot be trusted, and that's why we can't put her in the White House. I mean, I would say that's probably the single most cited reason, right, is you can't trust her, she's a liar. Do we agree?
I mean, there's also, I don't know if liar is the correct word. I guess that's what has me a bit on the fence. There are people who say that she's a liar.
Well, being not trustworthy.
I think she's a criminal.
Lie.
She's a criminal. I mean, that's what people think about her.
Yeah.
Not that she's a liar, but
Hillary for prison.
She's committing crimes. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, today.
Sorry about that, Chief.
No, I mean, you guys have both called her liars on previous shows, and we've cited those as reasons.
I mean,
when did I call her a liar? I never called her a liar.
We asked for biggest reason, though.
Right. And you're saying it's not the biggest reason. But I guess if you guys disagree, then maybe this show is completely pointless. But I would say that the American public has been led to believe the reason that we say she's a criminal, the reason that we say she's done so many things wrong, and the reason that she's not trustworthy is because we think she lies, and that she doesn't care that she lies.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I would think that would be true.
Isn't that one of the reasons you don't like her?
That is one of the reasons that, yes, I have stated before that I don't like her.
Okay. So what we're examining today is basically we're examining here Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump in terms of who actually lies more. Then we're also going to compare them statistically against previous presidents, the 2 most recent presidents, the one that's still in office and the one right before him. So Camden and Scott both got this report ahead of the show to look at and fully dissect, and they didn't voice any concerns in terms of how the report was assembled. There was no political interest in pursuing this report, no initial thought in terms of how it would turn out, but it does yield some very interesting facts. The top line numbers being that essentially statements that were 51% or more true made by Hillary Clinton of the 233 statements that she has made since 2007 that have been analyzed in this report, about 71% of them were at least mostly true or completely true. Now, on the flip side, when we look at Donald Trump since 2011, he's just about at 25% in terms of being at least mostly true. So a pretty big discrepancy there. 74%.
Who'd have thunk it?
74% to 25% in terms of true statements. And then when we look at false statements, you have almost the exact flip. About 75% of Donald Trump's statements made since 2011 have been false, or at least mostly false. And of Hillary Clinton's statements since then, about 25% to 27%. So, again, here, almost the exact flip. And I was actually somewhat surprised at Hillary Clinton's statistics, not necessarily at Donald Trump's. I would have expected that she had lied, about the same as she had told the truth. Now, we do have a breakdown here.
Why is that?
What do you mean?
Well,
because of what the media has been telling us.
Oh, okay. Because I don't think she's lied that much.
I don't either. Not now, especially.
Right.
I didn't think she had lied.
Even beforehand. I mean, you can listen to Donald Trump. You know he's a liar. He's a snake oil salesman. Hillary's a politician. She's got to at least say something true every once in a while.
She's got to at least once in a while tell the truth. Can't always tell the truth.
Donald Trump is a snake oil salesman. He makes his money by lying and cheating and stealing. So he can't, he's not telling the truth.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
I'm just listening to you guys. Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I knew Donald Trump. I think we all said before the show that Donald Trump, before seeing all the special report information that Justin had found, that Trump was going to be the biggest liar, but Hillary still lied a good bit. And according to the metrics that you put on it, Hillary didn't lie very much. But we're also taking 51% truths to be the truth, or to be counted in the truth.
And that's why we can look at the breakdown that's right below that. And we can see that in 100% true statements, Hillary Clinton comes in at about 23%. And Donald Trump comes in at under 5%.
Oh, for sure.
So, in this regard, which is Camden's voicing his concern here, statements that are essentially, looked at as statements that are 100% accurate in everything that they said in said statement, she blows Donald Trump out of the water. Now, only having a 25%, approximately 25% completely true statement record is still really bad. We're not going to contend.
But it's 5 times better than Donald Trump.
5 times better than Donald Trump.
Right.
So
when you're listening to Donald Trump this week up in Cleveland, don't believe anything he says, because he doesn't know how to tell the truth.
And again, in mostly true statements, Hillary Clinton comes in at about 28% as opposed to Donald Trump's about 9%. In the half-true statements, again, Hillary Clinton comes in at about 22% as opposed to Donald Trump's mere 15. So he does, when we get to half-true, when about half of what Donald Trump is saying is true.
His name is Donald Trump.
He tells the most. But
so when he says Donald Trump thinks, the Donald Trump part thinks is right.
That is true.
After that, though, it's totally false. The back half of all of his statements are false.
So
the first half, though, that he is Donald Trump, is a true statement.
Right. Then we have 2 statistics on the backside. We have mostly false and complete lies. So mostly false constituting that at least 51% of what was said was a lie. And complete lies obviously constituting that literally everything in the statement was completely false. And this is perhaps the most shocking and probably the most important category, where Donald Trump comes in at 59% complete lies. 100% of what he says is a lie 59% of the time, as opposed to Hillary Clinton's 11%. So again, a pretty stark difference here in terms of
every other word out of his mouth is a lie.
Now,
a little bit more than that,
Yeah,
actually
6 out of 10. But I mean, I was just every other word, just giving the benefit of the doubt that a couple of the thes and the uhs were good.
There you go. Fair enough.
So the other important thing here to look at, as I mentioned before, is that the oldest political statement that we're referencing from Donald Trump is 2011 and 2015. 2011 for his lies and 2015 for his truths. For Clinton, on both lies and truths, we were going back as far as 2007. That said, we must extrapolate to factor in if Donald Trump, if we were recording statements this entire time, how many lies would Donald Trump have told all the way back to 2007. And when you look at this number, you come up with about 245 total false statements, as opposed to approximately 200 true statements by Donald Trump. So outweighing, of course, his true statements by false statements, these being at least 51% true or 51% false. In contrast, Hillary Clinton at about 160 true statements as opposed to about 60 false statements. So again, a difference here. And then Some of these graphs, by the way, as we're talking, you've seen up on the screen here. The next one I think is very important, which is our pie charts here. How often is Trump lying or telling the truth? You can see that, generally speaking, Donald Trump is telling the truth less than 20% of the time, and he's lying to people about 84% of the time. What comes out of his mouth is mostly false 84% of the time. And we look at Hillary Clinton and we see that she generally is telling the truth about 73% of the time, and she is lying again over 15% of the time here, but not nearly as much as Donald Trump's 84%. And then when we look at perhaps the last and one of the other critical statistics is one of the things that the media has cited a number of times, or people arguing about Hillary Clinton, particularly people that argue in favor of Donald Trump, is that she is one of the worst liars in political history in terms of how much she has lied. Well, we also find that that's not true in this report when we cross-examine her lying in comparison to the two previous presidents, and I'm counting Obama and Bush here. So both Obama and Bush told the truth about 75% of the time, and again, Hillary Clinton tells the truth about 73% of the time. And they both did not tell the truth about 25% of the time, as opposed to Hillary Clinton's 27% of the time. So within 2 percentage points of previous presidents, she is in line with where they are at. Now, when we look at Donald Trump, again, very different here. 84% compared to the 25% of previous presidents, and his very meager 16% as compared to 75% of previous presidents. This is also important. The conclusions drawn by the report is obviously, in a nutshell, Hillary Clinton tells the truth far more often than Trump and is very comparable to past politicians. Trump lies consistently and is far more out of line with previous politicians than Clinton. Generally speaking, and this is a separate report in and of itself, but generally speaking, not only does Clinton lie less, but her lies are fairly close to the truth, as opposed to Donald Trump, who stretches the truth much further or completely fabricates information far more often. So I think this was a very important report to do. Again, this was compiled by referencing multiple sources, the primary source being politifact.com, a nonpartisan organization that looks to examine public statements and cross-reference them against public records. And then I took the liberty of vetting randomly sources that they provided of Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton saying something, and then of course cross-checking that against what we know as public fact. And their stats are within line plus or minus 3% of the time. So again, none of the stats that we listed are close enough in margin that a plus or minus 3% affects them in terms of who you can trust and who you can't trust. So I want to turn to you guys now and talk a little bit about what did you think about this report? What does it tell you about who's the right choice, who's the wrong choice? Does it change anything in your minds about these candidates? And we're going to start with Scott.
Well, I think it's really important. It just shows statistically what I've felt all along and tried to tell people. So I think it shows if honesty and integrity is an important issue for you, then obviously you need to be voting for Hillary Clinton. If you want somebody to tell you what you want to hear and make you feel good about yourself when maybe you shouldn't, then you vote for Donald Trump because he's lying to you. You can watch it when he gives a speech. I mean, Hillary's got her stances and she tells you what she's going to do, and for the most part tells you how she's going to accomplish that. When you listen to a Donald Trump speech, which I will tell you I have, and that's why my hair is so white, because it's just maddening, because you can hear him when he starts to talk that he's just playing the audience. He says, I don't go from a script, it makes it sound like it's a good thing. It's because he's feeling out his audience so he can figure out what their hot button is and so he can tell them what they want to do. And let's face it, he's a salesman. And that's what salesmen do. They talk to you, they get to know you, or try to get to know you in a short period of time and tell you what you want to hear so that you will buy something from them. And that's what he has done. He's talked to the American people. He's found a group of people that want to, close up the borders, who want to go to war, who want to do all of these certain things and then sold them on the idea that this will make America great again. And that's exactly what they want to hear, because they're part of the group that's disenfranchised in the United States, that they're disillusioned that their lot in life has not gotten as good as they feel it should be, or that their life is not as good as compared to those that they see around them and on TV, and they feel like their life should be as good. And by gosh, if we just elect Donald Trump, he's going to do all these wonderful things so that I have more power and more money. Unfortunately, Donald Trump never tells you how he's going to do those things. But these people are hearing someone tell them what they want to hear, and they are ready to vote for him. And history has shown us that every once in a while, if you're not careful, those kind of people can get elected, and then usually it is a horrible situation for the nation, not just the United States, but any other nation who falls for this kind of tomfoolery. So I hope the American people now have the facts to support that if honesty and integrity is important to you, you should be voting for Hillary Clinton or Gary Johnson. But again, Gary Johnson not polling enough to get the votes from the majority of us here.
Getting closer, though.
He is getting closer.
Getting closer, though.
All right, so now we're going to turn to Cam, who has perhaps been the strongest opponent of Hillary Clinton on this show, citing multiple times that she's a liar. Well, she lies about as much as our current president.
Yes.
And she lies about as much as good old George W.
Yeah.
She's right in line with other politicians, and I would say that
doesn't necessarily make her, good at the whole not lying thing.
No.
But go ahead.
No, of course not. I think that obviously 75% is sad.
Oh, yeah.
It's awful that our two most recent presidents, and perhaps our next president, are only about 75% truthful with the public. But that's a heck of a lot better than good old Donald Trump's numbers, where he doesn't even make it above 20% of the time telling the truth. So when looking at your candidate options, I would contend that it is unfair for the media to continue to act like her lying is some special situation when, in comparison to recent politicians, she's no different, and she's far better than Donald Trump.
In lying, that's true. But you could compare anything, any group of information. If you compare what we would consider Hillary Clinton to be, which would be the mean, the average of politicians from the three that we looked at here, and I'm sure if you went down the list of every representative and Senate member, you'd probably get around 75 to 80% truthful statements and 25 to 20% false statements. But we only went as deep as the presidential office. But comparing the mean to an outlier, we can get all huffy and puffy about it, but Trump lies. I'll give you that. I'll give you that up and down the street. I've told everybody that since we started our political coverage about 50 years ago, it feels like, on both of these candidates, because that's how Trump wanted to run his campaign. But still, the lies that George W. Bush told and the lies that Barack Obama has told didn't land them in an FBI investigation, didn't land them into the public eye so much as these lies were, statistics that were off. What this chart doesn't tell you is what these lies were. You can lie 10% of the time, but if you lie about killing a person, it's a much bigger lie than a white lie about what happened to the cookies in the cookie jar to your mother at 12 years old. Do you see what I'm saying?
So George W. Bush is the biggest liar out of the four. Which he lied to get us into a war that we've lost thousands of American lives in the last 15 years.
You could say it was a lie. You could say he was also inept, but both of them are very poor reasons to get us into a war, and I've never once defended him for getting us into that war, number one. But yes, if it was a lie, then he is the biggest liar.
And President Obama is second, because he's lied to us that he would get us out, and we're still there.
And we're still there, even though he has said we're out. This is a day where we have gotten out of this war, and now we're about to get back into another one here in Syria.
But you're okay with a guy who lies 6 times, 8 times, 10 times more than those two lies.
But I'm not okay with it. See, that's the thing where we've constructed this chart, and I think it's a good way to construct it. We've constructed it in a way of, oh, well, since I'm attacking Hillary Clinton, I must be for Donald Trump. I'm not for either of these people. But what I am saying is that Hillary Clinton doesn't get a pass just because she isn't as much of a liar as the true outlier of this political race, which is Donald Trump.
But don't you think the media is doing a true dishonest service to the public by portraying her as the liar of the campaign, when in reality she is not nearly the liar that Donald Trump is?
I see,
because by not doing that, they can continue to sell ratings of, we cover Donald Trump and we know that he's going to shun us from covering his events if we start calling him a liar. We can say a lot of things about him, but there comes a time where, you draw the line somewhere, and his rhetoric about Hillary Clinton is, look how much she lies. I mean, that is literally what he says more than anything else about Hillary Clinton. In fact, nearly 20 of his false statements over since 2016 started were in reference to Hillary Clinton lying about something that she didn't lie about. Mm-hmm. Those were ones that were rated 100% false, and that's part of what drove up his rating, is lying about Hillary Clinton, being a liar. So don't you think that the media is doing a true disservice to the public here by making it appear as if she is the one that is the bigger liar of the two? Because that is what they are doing.
I mean, sure, I guess they mention it a little more with her, maybe because the media holds her to a higher standard. And that doesn't necessarily make it right.
But that's not the media's job.
Well,
the media doesn't get to choose who it holds to a higher standard. It can hold everybody to the same standard, which could be a higher standard, but it doesn't get to say, I'm going to treat Camden Pierce differently because he's supposedly a better person.
Oh, but it does.
I know, but I'm saying it's wrong.
That
doesn't give the media a pass.
It doesn't give them a pass, but that doesn't mean they don't do it. And they haven't treated, most of the media hasn't treated Trump as a true presidential candidate until about 2 months ago. So it's still, and I'm not trying to give the media a pass, but I can understand where it has been a thing that has been growing and growing, that, okay, we have to start treating Donald Trump, we have to start bringing him to this higher standard, which is why it feels like they've been going after Hillary Clinton a lot more, because they have, under the basis that she has been a politician this entire race. And you've got me into this corner again where I'm defending Donald Trump, trying to defend my own point. But it truly is part of the reason why the media hasn't been holding him to that standard, is because they haven't been covering him under that standard at all. Until he had it wrapped up and this wasn't his circus anymore in the RNC, and the media has been much more interested.
So get back to answering my question
in the Democratic race.
If the media has done a disservice to the public by basically, without disclosing that they're doing it, intentionally covering these candidates differently. Because that is what you just said they're doing.
And sure, yes. Yep. That it has been a disservice as of now, because there's no way they could have predicted Donald Trump winning the RNC, or winning the RNC, winning the Republican nomination at the RNC this week.
But doesn't it make it wrong that they weren't treating him seriously before that, because it caused them to cover him differently, which we actually talked about months ago on the show, that because they covered him so incorrectly for so long as a spectacle, they gave him way more press coverage than everybody else.
They did.
Who were much more quote-unquote serious candidates who, under the standard that we've presented, would have deserved more time.
Right.
So the media just completely destroyed its own formula for how we cover people, gave coverage to somebody they thought was a joke, who turned out to now not be a joke at all.
Well, that gave them ratings. I don't think they cared that he was a joke or not. They didn't think he was a true candidate back then, but they covered him like he was the most important candidate because it gave them money, gave them ratings.
But the media did the public a disservice by treating them at different standards, and now by making Hillary Clinton out to be the worst liar of the two.
Yes, probably. Yes. I would say so. I don't.
Why
I truly don't have the numbers in front of me. I can't remember what media source, besides for obviously Fox News, but they curtail themselves to the more conservative of us here in America. What CNN, what ABC, what NBC source said that Hillary Clinton was the bigger liar?
No, I'm not saying they said that. I'm saying they have this information.
Well, I would
If
assume.
TrueChat has this information, they have this information. And they've probably had it for months. And not once have I seen this report put up on a screen somewhere that said, look at this chart. And it's up on screen here again. Look at this chart. And literally, guys, look at this. It is exactly flipped. Exactly flipped. The percentage of time that Hillary Clinton's telling the truth is the percentage of time that Donald Trump is lying.
I understand. Then let me tell you. Then let me ask you a question. Do you still think that they're not covering Donald Trump like he's a true candidate? Do you believe that, or do you believe he's starting to?
I think they've been holding him to a different standard the whole time. So under what you're asking, yes, I would say that they're still holding him to that same good old standard of we're going to cover him like the spectacle that he is, and not like we've ever covered a presidential candidate before. Because if they were doing it the right way, this would be up on TV. They would have shown this 100 times over, saying Donald Trump's called her a liar, and look how much he's lied. This isn't partisan politics. This is facts on paper. 100%. We know. I mean, public records versus what they said. And a majority of the time, Donald Trump is lying, and a majority of the time, Hillary Clinton's not. And no media source that's a major national media source has ever bothered to put that up on TV. The New York Times just did coverage of Donald Trump being a liar the other day, but they didn't bother to mention Hillary Clinton more than twice in that article, and never did they say that Donald Trump lies more than Hillary Clinton.
So now are we trying to force the media to cover things because they are facts? I guess no. Maybe I'm wondering where your beef comes from because they just haven't covered it at all.
Because
and you believe it's that important?
The media, yes, I do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It was merely a question. I was not trying to attack you.
It's a staple of Donald Trump's campaign to call Hillary Clinton a liar. It is a staple of what he says in every speech. Go back and look at the last 20 speeches.
Which he's not lying. She is a liar. She's lied before.
I just feel like the people who are Trump supporters won't listen to the media anyway. I don't think the media is as powerful in this case, because I don't think that they didn't cover Trump because he was so funny in that really people are going to believe this. And then the story became not that he was lying, that people believe this guy. And now he's gotten to a point where I think even if the media were to come out, mainstream media come out and show this, people would say, well, we don't care if he's lying or not. Because, like I said, I think the supporters of Donald Trump know that he's lying, but he's telling them things they want to hear about themselves and making them feel better about themselves. And if people if people are in that place, then they don't care if they're being lied to. It's like if somebody looks at you and says, you really look good today, and you don't think you do, but they just paid you a compliment, you're not going to say, no, you're lying. You're just telling me that. You're going to say, man, I feel pretty good. I look pretty good today. I mean, and that's what Donald Trump has done to gain support. He's taken the people who feel like they, in the last 10 or 15 years, have had power taken away from them, economic power, political power, social power, and said, you know what? If we get rid of all these people that are taking power away from you, America can become great again. In their mind, that's what America is when the white people have the power. And Donald Trump has played into that feeling in America. And, you know, if we do this, then you guys will have the power again. And people want the power. I'm not sure that even if you did the report, which granted, I agree with you, the news media, the mainstream news media has not done a good job in covering who the real liar is. I wonder if it would even make a difference. Because those people that support Donald Trump don't even support they don't support the mainstream media.
Not with the people not supporting Donald Trump, but I bet it would make a difference with the people who are yet
in
to
the middle
Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that they cite most frequently, and an article in the New York Times covered it just yesterday, all those Republicans who aren't voting for Trump, who say they can't vote for Hillary Clinton because she's a liar.
Do you think that those people? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but do you think those people will vote anyway? See, I think we're going to see one of the lowest, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're going to see one of the lowest turnouts in modern day history for voting, because people are going to look at their two choices. Maybe that's where the media has made an impact, because the media is comparing them as equal liars, or Hillary Clinton as a worse liar, so therefore people won't vote at all.
I think the change you're going to see is on Election Day. There's going to be a whole bunch of Republicans out there. And I know, for what it's worth, a couple of them from our hometown who have explained to me, and one of them, just for credibility's sake here, one of them is a former German citizen who did fight in the war, who was around, for all the treachery that was bestowed by Hitler, and is from Germany and has lived in America as an American citizen for the past however many years, has said, I am a Republican, but drawing comparisons between Donald Trump and Hitler is not far-fetched.
I agree.
And he said, I lived through that time, I lived in that country, and I remember when he was elected into power. Nobody thought it was going to be bad. Everybody was on his side. Yeah, this guy's great. He's going to be wonderful, And my point in getting at this is he is a Republican who has said, even though he wants nothing more than Donald Trump to definitely not be in the White House, he doesn't want to vote for Hillary Clinton because she lies. He would probably do it if he felt like he could trust her. And I think what this tells you is, you can't trust her 100% of the time, but you couldn't trust any of our presidents 100% of the time. So she is in line with what other presidents did, which would probably make it easier for him to wake up on Election Day and say, I wasn't going to go vote today because I really didn't feel like I could, but the idea of Donald Trump getting elected today is something I cannot live with. So they go down to the polls and they vote for Hillary Clinton, not because they like her, but because they have decided, based on information, knowing that Donald Trump's been lying about her, that I can live with it. I might not like it, I might not be happy, but I can live with it. As to where Donald Trump being president, I might not be able to live with that. I might leave the country, I might whatever. Which I think is part of Camden's dilemma when he's looked at voting for Hillary Clinton, is he doesn't think that he can vote, that he can live with himself if he did that. Although I'm not sure why, because I think now on TrueChat, on the air, we have debunked every single major complaint about Hillary Clinton as being far-fetched and over the top. Not that there's not some accuracy to them, like there's the 51%, they're just barely true or they're just barely not true, but we have debunked in some way that everything said about her is either far and above exaggerated or just an outright lie.
Sure, man.
If Trump, and I was thinking this earlier, and this is to you, when you said all that stuff about, there's a different level of lying, okay? That, lying to your mom about stealing a couple extra cookies before dinner is not the same as lying about, endangering American lives in Benghazi. I don't, on the surface, I don't really disagree with that. I do understand that. But if you have this report that shows how much Donald Trump lies before he gets power, how much is he going to lie once he gets the power? That's my concern. I agree. Hillary's, lie or, untruths about the topic are greater than what Donald Trump has lied about so far. But if Donald Trump is going to lie about stuff that's easy to tell the truth about, how many lies is he going to feed us when he becomes president? And how many horrible things is he going to do to this country and then lie about it when it's so easy for him to lie already? When he doesn't even have to. He doesn't even have to.
Right. He just doesn't.
And Camden, I think you're a smart young man. I cannot understand why you would even query the thought of turning the reins of the presidency over to a man like Donald Trump. And I can't
people,
understand.
I'm not voting for Donald Trump. Let's just make that clear.
But you're not going to vote for Hillary Clinton.
That's right.
While I commend your naivety, your belief in the system that, by God, I'm going to show everybody by voting for Gary Johnson. A vote for Gary Johnson is a vote for Donald Trump.
That's
so
wholly
vicariously
untrue.
You are voting for Donald Trump, and you are smart enough. You can deny it on camera, but you're intelligent enough to understand that and know that. And you can say whatever you want to hold true to your beliefs, but you know that voting for Gary Johnson on Election Day, you might as well have pulled the trigger for Donald Trump, who you know intellectually and inherently is going to be bad for the country.
Which I do know that. You are correct. But I thought we had come to a conclusion on this, but I thought what we had decided on a show last week, I believe it was one we filmed, that I was not going to vote for the Democratic candidate anyway, regardless. And what I was planning on doing was voting for a John Kasich, a Marco Rubio, before they both sunk their own campaigns, trying to go after Donald Trump.
Understand, that happened to you. Right.
And I thought we realized that because I wasn't going to vote for Hillary Clinton anyway, me voting for Gary Johnson is not a vote for Hillary Clinton, but it's also not a vote for Donald Trump either. It takes away probably about half a vote from Donald Trump because I am a card-carrying Republican. I don't sway as easy to one side, and my social issue, bias is not as large, rightfully so, as my colleague Justin's is. So I would technically be more likely to vote for Donald Trump. So me voting for Gary Johnson is not a vote for Donald Trump. I thought that's what we had decided using that form of rationale. Apparently we are going back on that, apparently.
I think his point is that most people that would generally be true with. He's saying he believes that you're of a higher intelligence than the average everyday person, and that you can, since you consciously have the ability to realize that you don't want Donald Trump, which you've said on the air, less than you want Hillary Clinton, that by sticking to your beliefs, you're in error because you could help prevent Donald Trump
If that
from
Tuesday in
becoming president.
November,
Which most people wouldn't be able to come up
Gary
with.
Johnson, heaven forbid, but Gary Johnson is only polling 8% in Ohio.
Okay. All
right.
I'm with you.
You know what a risk we as a nation would be taking.
What's Hillary polling at?
Huh?
What's Hillary polling at?
Let's say it's even.
Donald Trump and Hillary
It's even
Clinton.
than I'd seriously consider.
It's even between Trump and Hillary, and he's at whatever percent, and
not worth it to vote for.
35%, with 22% undecided on election day. Let's say there's 22%,
Which I think it could be that high.
You,
Yeah.
more than a card-carrying Republican, or a card-carrying American.
Right.
And I cannot believe that you would let Donald Trump have anywhere close to a sniff to the White House than he's going to get this week by being nominated by the Republican Party.
And I would, and I'll say it, and I'll look right at the camera, I will consider it. If it is that close in polls on election day or election week, whenever they release the last poll, I will consider voting for Hillary Clinton.
If Donald Trump has a chance to win Ohio,
Yeah.
and Gary Johnson is mathematically eliminated according to the polls,
Correct.
in winning Ohio,
There are.
you would vote.
I would consider it.
Okay. It's better than we were 2 weeks ago, folks. That's all I can do for you.
Before we wrap up, I just want to make a general comment that I think one of the great things about trust in the country, which is clearly betrayed by these statistics, not just by Donald Trump, but by Hillary Clinton, by Barack Obama, by George Bush, by probably every politician in office right now, is that ultimately when we sit down here on election day and we talk to you guys, we're all probably going to tell you, quote unquote, who we voted for. But any one of us could be lying to you. And when you ask somebody on election day, they could be lying to you. Camden could be a secret Donald Trump supporter, go into the poll, vote for Donald Trump, come out, and you'd never know it. And that is one of the wonderful things about this country, because you truly can walk into that voting booth without fear of anybody figuring out who you voted for and vote. Vote your conscience in the voting booth if that's what you want to do. So if Camden wants to go in there and vote for Gary Johnson because it's going to be what he is most at peace with, he can do that and come on the air and say full-heartedly that he voted for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or anybody else other than Gary Johnson, and there's not anything we can do to ever prove that wrong.
But the other thing that we have, besides that ability, is to speak our minds and to speak our truth and to speak the truth. And the truth is that, and the truth even in our ways, the freedom of speech, that if we think somebody is going to be bad for the country, we're allowed to say that. And there are more places than not in the world where you're not allowed to do that. So thank goodness we can say it. And folks, you've got to decide for yourself. But, I don't have anything to gain. And I'm not necessarily a big Hillary supporter, but this is, to me, an important vote and an anti-vote as a Trump vote, because there's no way that man should get anywhere close to to the presidency, in my opinion. And I am totally grateful for the free speech opportunity to share that with you. And I think we're doing a good job trying to show you why he should not be in.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, TrueChat does not officially endorse nor do we condemn any candidate, because it is our company's policy to maintain as a company neutral on these issues. It just so happens that on this show, with our three political viewpoints, we have come to a consensus a number of times that none of us want Donald Trump in the White House. Some of us more so than others, but nonetheless, we really don't want him there. So I just want to air that out there as letting people know that if for some reason you have an ethical concern about this show, that we would encourage you to report it to our ethics department, ethics@truechat.org. Very straightforward. We're telling you on air that if you think something we're doing is wrong, if you think that we're coming off with a liberal slant unfairly, then, then please report it. But this report was not assembled in a partisan way. It was merely examining the facts, and it so happens to come out on favoring the liberal side of things. But that doesn't make it incorrect. So, excuse me. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, this was a TrueChat special report on Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's lies and which one of them was the worst. For TrueChat, broadcasting from Cincinnati, Ohio in Studio 2A on this Monday, July 18th, 2016, I'm Justin Weller.
I'm Camden Pierce.
And I'm Scott Wood.
As always, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the TrueChat Show, the Current Issues Show, whatever show this is, the TrueChat Special Report segment. We'll see you next time. Be the change.